In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the treatments that work for insomnia and the treatments that don't. So we've already discussed in previous videos that insomnia tends to be a chronic condition. It has become habitual. It is something your brain has learnt to do differently to survive. The way to explain this to you better would be to use a different type of example. So recently I had a knee issue, and what happened was I got my knee issue and I started to walk differently. I started to adapt to my knee issue. I started to get a limp and back soreness and muscle soreness and lots of other things that went along with the original issue. So even after I had my surgery to fix the original knee issue, my body still limped, it still had the back soreness, it still had the muscle soreness. And that is because it had adapted to survive with my condition. And so in order to fix that, I had to relearn to walk again, which was not necessarily having the surgery for my knee. It is exactly the same with sleep. So whilst you may already know that treating the original condition for why you got this problem, this insomnia problem, if indeed you knew what that was, it won't potentially lead, and it doesn't tend to lead to fixing the chronic sleep problem that came along with it, because it has now become habitual, and therefore retraining you to sleep properly is a much better way of doing that. And to do that, you've got to do some behaviours consistently over time. I'm going to talk to you now about some of the things you may have heard of, you might have been told to do by even doctors, things that you have looked up online that said that would fix your problem but probably haven't. So one of the first things is sleep hygiene. So you may have heard this term before, don't worry if you haven't. It literally just is the list of things that you may have got from, say, your doctor or online of tips that supposedly help you to fix your sleep problem. They might include things like stop drinking caffeine, have a hot warm bath before you go to bed. The problem with these things is that they are very reactive, and whilst in a good sleeper who may just be looking to improve the quality a little bit, they might see little differences in their sleep because of changing those variables. Unfortunately, with someone with a chronic sleep problem, reducing their caffeine intake is probably not going to fix it. Similarly, if you are doing things like relaxation, so we've been taught that relaxation and anxiety reduction can lead to sleep. Now, whilst anxiety reduction and relaxation strategies can help you feel relaxed and much calmer, just feeling those things won't initiate sleep. There is no evidence that just feeling relaxed leads to sleep. That's because sleep is a drive state that is driven by you being awake for a certain amount of time before you're allowed to feel sleepy. And if you don't have a nice, consistent drive state, then you won't be able to fall asleep with a mere relaxation strategy. Unfortunately, when these things don't work for us, they make us feel even more inadequate because the rest of the world looks like they're using all these strategies and they're doing perfectly fine. And that's the danger of them, is that they leave you a bit more hopeless than before, and when in actual fact they were never really designed to help with sleep, and indeed they won't help with sleep. Similarly with things like CBD oil, melatonin, whilst there is some little research in melatonin, it's only in specific cases that it might do something to support your sleep, but there is no real evidence that it can fix chronic sleep insomnia. Things like CBD oil, we don't have enough evidence for, but at the end of the day, it's going to be very difficult to come across some kind of medication, so something artificial that you're putting into your body that's going to fix a problem that you consistently made by certain behaviours. The only way to really get out of that behaviour is to consistently make other behaviours, aka retrain your brain to sleep. Sleeping pills are another one. Now, I don't think that sleeping pills are bad, so don't worry if you've had to resort to them. But unfortunately, again, there's no long-term sort of evidence and research that you can fix chronic sleep problems or insomnia with sleeping pills. They do tend to, unfortunately, not make us feel great. They might change our sleep architecture. And they stop working over time. And so there's not something that you can continuously rely on, and even if there were, it would effectively be a control, because as soon as you stop taking that medication, you go back to having insomnia. And so it's not a reliable treatment source for chronic conditions. Sometimes it can be more helpful in acute conditions, so where there's like a bout of really bad insomnia that you want to resolve. But if you want to resolve a chronic sleep problem that has been there for many months, if not many years, then unfortunately, all the things that we've just talked about are not going to work for you. And you probably already know that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So before I make you feel like there is no solutions to insomnia, there is in fact a solution to insomnia that targets the original root of the problem. So not the symptoms, but the original root of the problem, much like the limp in my knee story. We're going to talk to you about that in the next video.